Hi there, guys. Here we are, and today we are going to talk to you episode 6, and this is all about classic car leather. So I am Richard.
I'm Caroline.
And this is the R&C Leather Lounge. This is our continued series that we give under our subscription service on YouTube that is exclusive to people who are subscribed to our channel. So please do make sure you refer us to friends and family and fellow traders alike. Get them to sign up, get them to subscribe. And we're here to give you help and advice all the time as much as we possibly can. So, obviously, classic car leather.
Cars.
It's a huge market that you can earn an awful lot of money in. And obviously different types of cars, different manufacturers have different types of leathers and things like that. If you go back to sort of some of the, sort of earlier Mercedes, a lot of those, would have been their traditional sort of vinyl. So obviously we can't really do a lot with those so far as conditioning and stuff like that. Cleaning we can obviously do. Sort of go back pre-80s, 90s sort of thing. Even maybe, late 70s, you're going to be going into a different type of tanning. So you're obviously going to be mainly your sort of Connolly veg tan process at that point. Obviously, what that means is, because it's veg tanned and it's the Connolly hide, there was basically no sealers on the surface. So you go back to the old traditional days of people like, oh, I want to feed my leather. Well, yes, you could back then. And obviously, even today with modern leather, we're 2025, we're back end of 2025 now. We're sort of, Christmas is looming, believe it or not. 2026 is coming. My God, already. Yeah, bad weather coming. So obviously with modern leathers, you've got like a 1% breathability, but after 3 years, all that clear coat's gone anyway. And that is then when on modern leathers, it becomes even more important that you need to protect that surface because the paint is absorbent, whereas the clear coat is actually waterproof. So it's just a little myth out there that people say, oh, modern leather, it isn't leather anymore. It is actually leather. And they're like, well, it's painted. It's been painted for over 100 years. So people need to understand the facts and not the fiction of what you're being told by, glorified YouTubers who just want to advertise a product and get paid a huge amount of money, to do a review, yes, and talk about a load of dribble that they don't know anything about. Anyway, that's my rant. So let's get back to episode 6, R&C Leatherland. I'm Richard, she's Caroline. So start again, shall we? We try to have a little bit of fun here. Classic car. So go back to, sort of like 80s, 70s, 90s, maybe in some cases. You're dealing with a veg tan. So obviously that means that they can be fed. You get everybody like, oh, I want to feed my leather, especially the older generation. What can I put on there to feed it? Obviously, the leather protection cream, you can put on to feed. I haven't got it with us, but I mean, it's, you know what LRC4 is. It is the leather protection cream. I've got a bottle up there with an old label on. Shall I get it and show you? Because that'd be interesting to show you. Caroline will get you it. Because show you a protection cream with our black and white labels. Now, these are years and years and years old. These are very, very old. These are probably labels from, and this will also tell you the age of the product, and this is still fantastic. The LRC4 protection cream, this label on here is probably, this bottle is probably getting on, and we've even got a barcode stuck on it. That's how old it is, which we used to do separately. So this one is probably, we changed to a reddy maroon color. So this bottle is probably, it sort of gives you an idea of shelf life and things. I mean, but obviously we have to say 12 months as a manufacturer, but this is probably well over 10 years old. I mean, we changed our design to what we are now 5 years ago, believe it or not. But yeah, this is 10 years old and it's still perfectly fine. And as usual, you can sort of get some on your finger and that's how safe it is. It just tastes bloody foul. But it's not going to kill you or anything like that. No, honestly, it's fine.
So this is the grunt.
Yeah.
Just Caroline.
Yeah. So yeah, it's good. Yeah. So this is LRC4. So this is the protection cream you'd put on that you'd use to feed your leather and stuff like that. We do also have an antique restorer cream. This one happens to be red. We do have a neutral version, which is also really super good for classic cars, or for classic antique furniture, if you want to call it that. It doesn't matter what it is. It just depends on the sort of age of the leather, where it's come from, and how you're going to protect it and preserve it. So different types require different things, obviously. So obviously cleaning. There's one for cleaning, for cracked
Cleaning.
leather, yeah.
Cleaning. First use the foam. So you get the standard leather cleaner in a mousse
Trying to
bottle,
get it to focus in because it's like this one here. This one here.
or the Aniline
Yep, the little bit.
cleaner.
See,
They dance. They dance
yeah,
as
they
well.
do
They
dance.
dance.
Yes, they dance.
The mousse is a lot better because it hangs around a bit better. You've got time to work it with rush if you need to, or a bamboo pad. And it just gives it a lot more. It pulls a lot of the dirt out of the deeper grain or the cracking. Yeah. Use the aniline one is better if there's lots and lots of cracking. So that's better on not a pigmented leather. That one is hugely better. Use it with our horsehair brush, the big brown one. The luxury brush, I think is
yeah, luxury brush. Yeah, the big
called.
horsehair one. So yeah, obviously with your cracking, you just got to be careful that that's why the foams are better, where it's got cracked leather, because obviously, like Caroline says, the foam sits on the surface. Obviously, if you spray on a liquid, you know, it's common sense, it's just going to soak in.
Especially into the cracks.
Yeah, so that, you know, which obviously with the foam, it allows you to work on the surface with the foam a lot longer. You know, with the horsehair brush, it just allows you to get that dirt lifted off of the, you know, out of the cracking and stuff like that, because that's where it's going to get in, and that's obviously why it's breaking down, because it's lack of care at the end of the day. So obviously, it
will just go on to like
softening cream. Yeah, I was going to say that. Now you've got to be careful here with obviously an antique leather. Now, the one thing you need to sort of do, it's actually making sure that you do a lot of homework with your client, because you've got to make sure that they understand what is going to happen with the process of the restoration that you're going to do, and what they want and what they expect and what they perceive in here that they want and what they're going to achieve. Because obviously with a classic car or an antique piece of furniture, you've got to be careful that you don't over restore that and actually decrease its value. So you've got to make sure that you do a lot of educational talks with your client. You've got to make sure due diligence is done, because you've got to make sure they understand the process, and you've got to understand what their expectations are. So you've got to make sure you meet them head on, especially with antique leather. Now, with a modern car seat, it's very, very different. You can just carry on painting it. With something antique, you've got to really make sure that you meet their expectation, because the last thing you want is something like this old sort of Chesterfield suite that we've got here. We do have a section on here that you can sort of see where we've left it like this with all the cracking in. So this is, as you can see, because that's how I wanted it. I wanted to retain the patina in the cushions, but I wanted to restore the back so that you could see how that could be restored. But the cushions, I wanted to retain the patina, just to show people the difference between keeping an aged look. Now, with this, we use the leather protection cream on here, old label, or we use the neutral version of the antique restorer cream. So either one of those, obviously this has beeswax in, so they will keep and nourish and feed the colour. Now, the antique restorer cream will also help bring out a little bit of the colour as well. Now, there's obviously another step in there that I've interrupted here and stopped her over there from talking, which she will now just talk about. And, you know, because, you know, I just like to rabbit on, don't I?
And I probably just get straight to the point. But
yeah,
a lot of questions we do get asked is not the difference, but the reasoning behind using either protection cream on old leather or a softening cream on old leather.
Softening cream? Oh, old leather?
So obviously we say, well, use both because, you know, it's beneficial. But the softening cream comes into play when, you know, when your leather gets really old and you're going to press down on it and it squeaks. You can hear it squeak. It's like cardboard. That is definitely when you are going to need
softening cream.
The softening cream. You can use the protection cream over the top, no problem at all for your regular maintenance, the cleaner and protection cream. But in between those two, the softening cream works brilliantly. Apply it quite liberally. Get your fingers in there, get stuck in. It won't hurt your hands at all. But if you want to prefer to use gloves, you can.
Obviously, it depends if you've got a skin condition. So, obviously, skin conditions, yes, definitely put gloves on. Put your gloves on. Make sure you wear your gloves. Because it doesn't matter what it is, even some people with water and some soaps and things will affect skin conditions. So yeah, just be careful of that one. But not, you know, this will not hurt your hands at all unless you have a skin condition, obviously. There you go. So now she suddenly lost my words, didn't she? So there you go. So take over. So obviously with the softening cream, it is going to make the leather nice and soft and supple. There is videos if you go on over to our standard YouTube channel and just search for softening cream. There is one in particular with a classic car called the Riley Pathfinder that we did for Practical Classic magazine. Go and look at that because there is a really good in-depth video about the restoration process that we did on that particular classic car, where we had to use the softening cream and the things that we had to do before we could use this properly. It's not bloody focusing. So again, you can wrap it up in plastic and stuff like that to let it sweat into it to help it sort of work faster and soften. Now, again, let's go back due diligence. Let's go back to make sure that you've done the customer's expectation. Is very important that you understand the customer's expectation as to what they perceive. Not what they perceive, but I think it's more what they are expecting.
What end result they want.
Yeah, what is the end result that they want? And that's what you've got to look at. With everything that you do with a classic car or an antique piece of furniture, especially antique furniture, because the thing is with an antique piece of furniture, you could have a classic car that's worth £4,000 or £5,000, and that's the whole damn car. Now, you could have a piece of antique furniture that could be worth £50,000, and it's a tiny little thing like this that you can't even get in. It doesn't even have an engine and start. It doesn't even move anymore. So you've got to be very, very careful with antique furniture. It is extremely rewarding financially. Rather than using the word repair, try to use the word restore. And we are going to talk about those in our series that we're going to do shortly, that we've already started recording, to do with the sort of business growth and different areas that you can get into, ideas, tips, and tricks of restoring other things. Now, I use that word again. You see, we're restoring. Maybe we should have been called Leather Restoration Company, but we chose Leather Repair Company. Silly buggers, eh? Anyway, now, please make sure that you get the customer's expectation and what they think it is going to look like when it's restored and what they want it to look like, because sometimes, especially with classic items and antique furniture, they do not want that cracking that I've just shown you on there getting rid of. They just want what they've got cleaning and maybe a little bit enhancing. So that's where you would use, obviously, a softening cream, antique restorer cream, and the leather protection cream as well. So to go over the top, and maybe the antique cream lacquer, which again we don't have here. But I mean, oh yes, we do. Sorry, I'm picking up antique restorer cream. I'm picking up softening cream, leather protection cream. I've got antique restorer cream. Sorry. No haste, go straight over. So you obviously want to make sure that the customer understands, what they're getting really, I think, with the the antique furniture. Very, very important, because that obviously lends into things like handbags and stuff like that as well. But we're not here to talk about handbags. We're here to talk about classic seats and furniture.
Yeah, I think it's just really important to get an idea from the customer what they want it to look like. Do they want all the creases and the cracks to be still visible but just covered up just a little bit? That's when the antique restorer cream is really, really good. So it's gonna colour down into the cracks where the cracks might have gone a lighter colour. For example, on this one that you can't see, it's brown, but in the cracks it's like a creamy colour, like a tan colour. So the restorer creams will colour into those cracks. So the crack will still be there. We're not repairing the crack at all, but we are restoring the colour. Really important thing to do after using the antique restorer creams is to use the light's awful on.
I know it is today.
Is to use the antique cream lacquer over the top.
Yep.
It's got a really nice silky sheen to it. It's not really shiny and it's not really dull either. It's probably not even as shiny as what this looks with these cracks in it. It'll be just under that. It's more of a low satin kind of finish. And so it's perfect for classic cars, because they were never ever shiny unless they were vinyl. The old pink Cadillac is your typical.
Yeah, a lot of like the cars from the sort of 50s and things, especially in America, they were all vinyl. So yeah. So because a lot of them had like metallic interiors, so obviously it's those sort of things weren't really around, back then with the metallic sort of leather finishes and things like that. I'm not quite sure when metallic paint was invented originally. I'd have to actually look up that one because that'd be quite an interesting one. I'd like to research that to see exactly when metallic paint was invented. I've got some researching to do, haven't I? So we'll do some researching, and I'll mention it if I remember. We'll mention it on the next video that I've done my research and done it. So I've got a little bit of education. Yeah, it's going to be unrelated to next video, but I'm going to do some educating and find about, when metallic was invented for paint. So yeah, that's a little bit of learning I've got to do myself now. So I continually learning, continually educating, because I genuinely don't have a bloody foggiest. Obviously, I think we've covered the basics of it. Yeah,
still protect, by the way. Over, you can still use like our leather guard or the leather protection spray that we do. Yep. Can still be used over all of these products. But do the protection cream last. Always put the protection spray or the leather guard
first.
It's got to go as near to the leather as it can. So you don't want any layers of anything else in between the guard and the actual leather itself. And then your protection cream, which we call the regular maintenance with your cleaner, goes on after that. You can do the cleaner and the protection cream just as a regular, ongoing, as often as you like, especially for cars that are like just sat in the garage. I say garage because I'm calling.
I say garage.
It's garage.
She takes the whatnot out of me.
So if they're just sat there doing nothing, you don't really use them, they will go car body. It will dry out. So please, even in the most humid of conditions, it will still dry out. Probably more so because the humidity takes it.
Yeah, the humidity is going to take out
the moisture out of the leather.
But, water content in and take the natural, sort of goodness and richness out of the leather itself. So yeah, you've got to
make it a regular.
You just want a regular maintenance thing. Obviously, with the leather guard and the leather protection spray, one coat. One coat is enough. One sheet does plenty. Yes, one coat is enough.
A lot of people won't know what.
Yeah, no, not overseas anyway. It's a joke. It's an advert here in England. It might be in America. You never know. It's a little sheet of paper they use to wipe up spills and stains, and one sheet does plenty. But I don't think it does. I think it's all marketing hype.
Other kitchen rolls are available.
Yes. So obviously with the antique restorer creams, they're great for your leather if you want to keep the patina, keep the cracking. It will colour it in. It will not fill them, but it will colour them, so it makes it look like it's filled in. And then obviously what I would personally do is antique restorer cream, and then the cream lacquer over the top. Obviously, if you're using just the neutral version of, this one here, if I can get it right, this one here, if you're using the neutral version of this, you do not obviously have to apply this over the top. Because obviously there's no colour, because these are charged with a pure dye, an absolute pure dye. So you can use these to dye timber as well, believe it or not, which we've got here demonstrated downstairs in the training centre, which we show people when we've dyed timber. So I think we've really covered everything. As again, with anything antique furniture or a classic car that has got cracking, drying out, the first process is obviously we'll crack over again. Either the leather mousse cleaner, that one there, or you can use the Aniline leather cleaner, depending on what you want. A nice, soft, natural horsehair brush. Once you've cleaned it all over, gently with the foam, because the foam lasts longer on the surface, you would then proceed to your softening cream, that one there, if you needed to soften. If you didn't, you could then proceed to a protector, obviously like the protection cream, if you needed to, or leather guard or leather protection spray. Obviously, if you needed to colour, then you would clean it with the foam, mousse, whatever you want to call it, antique restorer creams going on to the surface, and then you would put the antique cream lacquer over the top. Obviously, there's a step in between there of things that you need to consider. So you've cleaned it. Do you need to soften it? If you've cleaned it and you need to soften, you then soften. You then wipe down with an alcohol cleaner to remove any excess, then proceed with your antique restorer, or just proceed with protection cream. You've got to do your checks with your client to see what their expectations are of the finished result and what they want, because obviously restoring and preserving what you've got is essential. And you've got to remember, guys, use that word restoration more than you do repair, and then get them to understand you're just restoring what they've got. You're not replacing it. It's a big difference between restoring and replacing. And you will thank me later if you keep using the word restoring, because it is a word that's associated with a higher income level than a repair. Oh, we're just going to go and repair that. It sounds a little bit lower grade, doesn't it? So, you're going to go in and restore this. That sounds better, doesn't it? To restore it rather than repair it. So, repairing it sounds a little bit down bottom, cheap, cheap, whereas I'm going to restore this. It sounds a lot better, doesn't it? Because people can relate to restoring. So, but we'll talk about all of that in one of our business videos that we are going to be doing here in the R&C Leather Lounge. So that is it. That is episode 6. Get ready for next week for episode 7. Believe it or not, that's only 7 weeks we've been doing this. Isn't that amazing? And we still sit here and talk to ourselves.
Still talk.
If you do want to join in, please do hop on these, because you'll make it really, really interesting. Because you can actually ask questions while we are talking. So please feel free. Become a star of the show. Have your logo in here, get your name in here, get your business mentioned in here. Start in the show. Start to get people to know about your company. Let's do this. Let's get going. Let's get motivated, guys. Come on. We need your support. You need us. We need you. We all help each other. We are a team. We stick together and grow together. So get in the show, get starring, get helping, get asking questions, because at the end of the day, questions is education. So the more you ask, the better that it's going to be, because there's things out there that you're probably thinking, wish I'd asked that question. Come along and ask it. So that is us, episode 6. And that is classic cars and antique furniture, how to restore it, how to care for it, and how to preserve its patina, whatever you want to call it, cracking. It has all different types of words, but so that's how you deal with that side of things. With the classic cars and the antique furniture. So any questions, please, where we are on email, ask on the video as well. Please ask on the video. If you like our videos, please give us a like, please give us a thumbs up, please say, well done, guys, keep up the great work, because we need to know whether we're helping you or whether we're actually, hindering what you're doing, because we need to know whether we're wasting your time or helping you grow. So please do tell us where we can improve, because at the end of the day, we need you to support us so we can support you and deliver to you valuable information. If we're not delivering you value, then there is no point in us continuing to do this, and I'd rather you just tell us and be truthful, because I don't want to sit here talking dribble if we're not giving you value. So thank you very much, guys. That is episode 6, classic car and antique furniture, how to deal with cracking and dryness. I am Richard,
and I'm Carolyn,
and that was Leather Lounge. We'll see you next Monday. See you around. Ciao.